I am going to introduce you to 3 architect sketchers that you might not have heard of, whose work and style that I personally admire a lot. Because I'm not going to pretend that I am the best sketcher there is online, and you shouldn't either. I will often find inspirations from other designers and even copy certain techniques from them if I really like it. By now, I have my own techniques and style, but that doesn't mean it's the right one for you. So I hope to expand your view just a little and show you where I get inspirations from. So welcome back, my name is Henry and I help architects and interior designers save time, draw more confidently, and be more creative using an iPad. So let's get into it. The first architect is called Amin Zakaria, who is generously enough to share his work and process with the rest of us on his YouTube channel. His approach to drawing, and especially digital drawing, is quite special. He has this hard line style, almost as if he's drawing with a ruler to make all his line work very straight. And it reminds me of my own architecture school days working with mechanical rulers and pencil. This style is actually really easy to accomplish in most drawing apps. So if you watch some of his tutorials, he is able to replicate this style in Procreate, Morpholio Trace, and Concepts. Even though most of his work are line weight based, there's actually a lot of depth because he is very creative with line weights, texture, and using simple colors to highlight important elements. I think this kind of style is really perfect for concepts and early phase developments where you don't have a lot of the architecture defined, but you are trying to communicate volume, massing, and quality of space without a ton of detail. This is not a style that I have developed or adopted in my own work, as I prefer a more freehand drawing look. But it is something that I recommend and encourage people who may not be as confident to freehand at first. The feature that allows you to draw straight can be a crutch for you until you're comfortable with freehand more in the future. But if you just happen to like this style, just learn from his techniques and make it your own. The next architect that I want to introduce you to is called Russ Tyson, who is also a principal at Witten Architects and also generously share his beautiful hand drawings on Instagram. I feel like this is the kind of classical architecture sketches and illustrations that you would expect from an architect. Many of them are pen and ink and pencil with shading, but not a whole lot of color. But when color are used, they are often used selectively, like for trees, background, or to highlight a certain material. It's really nice to see a diverse type of projects that Russ has worked on over the years on Instagram. And you can see that most of them are likely produced during the schematic phase or the conceptual phase of the project. What I really love about his style is the quality of his lines. From what I can tell, most of them are done with freehand and not with a ruler. And he typically doesn't use more than one line weight in his drawings, and yet there is a level of precision in his work that makes it very believable. I believe this is what he presents to his clients, which might totally be enough in terms of visuals for a presentation. Can you imagine how much time you can save by not needing to do realistic renderings or a detailed 3D model? I can definitely relate to this in my own work where I've not provided computerized renderings in client presentations, which in turn have saved me a lot of resources and time over the years. Like many others, Russ has also jumped onto the digital drawing bandwagon, and you can see some example of this when he used the app like Morpholio Trace to replicate this usual style. I gotta say, it's getting a little hard to tell what is drawn on paper versus the iPad. If you are interested in his process, Eric from 30 by 40 actually has an interview with Russ, and I will leave a link below for this video. The last architect I want to introduce you to is called Carlos Almeida, if I'm saying that right, who share his work on Instagram under sketch views. I see Carlos' work more like art than sketches. He's mostly a pen and ink guy, but also sometimes experiments with watercolor. But for the introduction, I will just stick to his pen style. Carlos is extremely masterful at using one pen weight in all his compositions to bring out shadow and light to differentiate subject matters from the foreground, midground, and background with an interesting narrative and doing it all without muddying the drawing. And you might think using one tool is easier than having multiple tools around, but it's really hard to do well than what you might think. And I can tell you that from my years of drawing experience using pen and ink, how hard this is. But if you want simplicity in a way where you don't have to carry a lot of tools with you, I still think the pen and ink is one of the best combo. I still love drawing on traditional paper, but for the sake of design, ease of editing, and iteration, I moved my traditional process onto my iPad and never looked back. If this style is right for you, go study Carlos' work so you can extract some of his techniques and style for your own. My advice is to learn to copy first and then recreate for your own. If you are interested in seeing how I work, what my unique approach to sketching in a professional architecture environment is like, I have a free 3-part workshop for architects and interior designers on my own website showing you many of my behind the scenes workflows. Just click the link below to sign up. Otherwise, I will see you next time.